This is my tutorial for a little bunny sculpture. The entire project will be in an upcoming tutorial. Okay, so I'm just taking a toothpick and a little styrofoam ball. I'm putting the toothpick in the ball. Then you're going to roll out 2 small balls of clay. Those are going to be your cheeks. I am going to go slowly at first here so you can see everything that I'm sculpting, and then parts of the video will be fast forwarded when I'm just blending the clay. So you just kind of place your cheeks in the middle wherever you think your cheeks should end up at. And then you're going to sculpt kind of a triangle piece. It's going to be your chin. Then you're going to roll out a ball and you're going to spread it very thin. You can use a roller. I'm not. I'm used to making these things. Then you're going to pick up your thin sheet of clay and place it over the top. And what you're going to do is smooth it over, but very gently. You want to be aware of those cheeks. You don't want to smash them, but you do want to place your eye sockets right away, and that will make your cheeks even more prominent. And then you're just going to start smoothing down, and you're just going to be mindful of the cheeks and the mouth. Now I'm just taking my fingernail. You could also take a toothpick or something like that, a sculpting tool for clay. And I'm just going to carve out the mouth now. Just make it a little more obvious. I accidentally made it kind of a sad face there. You don't want to do that. So that's why I took the toothpick to make it a neutral expression. But I'm just making sure you can see the chin and see where the nose is going to go and see where the mouth goes. Now you can see my cheek on the right was much smaller than the left. And so I don't know what happened. Maybe I accidentally smushed it down, but that's okay. I'm just adding a little bit of extra clay, and then I'm pressing the seam into the clay to try to blend them. Sometimes you have to mess up your project in order to blend it really well, so it's going to look messy at first, but you just got to trust the whole process. I am going to add a little bit of water, just a touch of water, so that I can help smooth in that seam and even out those cheeks. Now I'm going to focus on smoothing out any flaws all the way around the head. I'm going to add extra clay because this bunny or whatever you're going to make is going to need a neck as well. And so you'll just see me do that. I'll add clay as needed and then smooth with my fingers and smooth with the palm of my hand. So here's a very basic head. I use this for rabbits, bugs, like a ladybug, a bee, no, and a duck. So this is what it looks like after it's dried a little while. You can see that this clay does poof out. So the eye sockets, the mouth and everything are not as prominent, but I think that this looks great. So I took another styrofoam ball and I'm taking a tool and I'm just pushing the head into the styrofoam ball. And then I realized I made the styrofoam balls a little bit too big for this project. So I'm just gonna trim it on the side. Now I'm taking some more clay and I'm just wrapping it around the styrofoam, and you may need to do a couple of layers so that none of your styrofoam, that you can't feel it through the clay or see it through the clay. And you're just kind of making a potato shape. So here I am adding a second layer because I thought that the first was too thin, and I also like to make really chunky creatures. Now I'm just working with smoothing this out. I'm using a toothpick on the neck here just to blend in that seam. And I'm just using my thumbs and the palms of my hands to smooth it over and over. Sorry, I'm a little out of frame there. I know you get the idea, and I am going to use my pink pliers as a marker on my screen to make sure that I'm in the screen all the time. So don't worry about later in the video. So now I'm just making some legs. We got to make kind of his rump and legs here. So you're just gonna make 2 long kind of fat worms, and then you're going to attach it to the rabbit's back so that he's kind of sitting on his leg. And again, you're just gonna work on smoothing. So you're gonna have to smooth that into his back. And I'm using the toothpick again to press the seams into his back. You could also use one of those little clay tools that's like a little ball. And then I'm not worried about so much on the bottom. It's not going to show, but the sides of the legs, where his body hits the legs, I'm just kind of blending all of it together. And just take your time with this, and you may have to redo areas. Like you may find that you accidentally squeezed the front of the leg when you were blending the back, and so you just kind of puff it out again. Remembering that this clay will puff out and hide any flaws that you're making. And again, remember that you can also spritz anything with a little bit of water so that you can help yourself to blend in any seams or flaws. Now here I noticed that my legs were touching. In this sculpture, I did not want my legs to touch, so I just separate it with my scissors, and now I'm just gonna smooth out the legs again. And I'll show you what I'm going to do because I'm going to add on the rabbit's feet later, but right now we're gonna work on the arms. So you just make 2 smaller worms this time, just skinnier than the legs. And then you want them fairly long because you want them to be able to reach around the front of the rabbit. I'm going to give my rabbit like little paws so that he will look like he's holding he can hold a flower or a little treat or a cupcake or a jelly bean, or just be posed with his arms together. So you see I'm just bending it around, and then I'm puffing up the hand just to make it more obvious that there is a little paw there. And then I will be cutting in the little fingers with a toothpick. So again, you are going to have to blend that into the back. So here I'm pushing the toothpick into the clay to make it look like there's two paws there. And then I am cutting in the little fingers and a little thumb on the bottom. It's not correct at all. And it's okay. This is just fantasy. It's just kind of abstract. So now I'm making a little rabbit foot shape. So you see how it's bigger on the top and then it thins out to the bottom, but keep it nice and round on the sides. And then you're going to attach it to the legs. Make sure it doesn't hit the hands. If it does, I'll show you what to do. I am going to cut in the little toes. And you can see right there, I did touch the wet clay to the hand, and so it stuck, and I just separated it and then smoothed it out again. And then I'm just smoothing the feet, smoothing the legs, add a little bit of water because that foot also touched that hand. You just, you got to watch out for things. If you want your feet to touch your hands, that's totally fine too. It just, in this case, I wanted them separated. So I'm just making sure that everything looks good. I know that there's a flaw on the head and whatever, but that is where I can stick an ear, so it's not going to matter. So this is what the bunny looks like at this point, and now I am going to add on the facial details and the ears. So I'm going to add in some toothpicks for support, and again, my bunny is dry. And so I'm going to add those in, and then I'm going to roll up some clay, and then I'm going to put the clay directly onto the toothpick and then sculpt it from there. I do roll a ball and kind of make an ear in my fingers just to see the scale of the ear before I start putting it on the toothpick. And then I just play around with the ear shape. I fold it over, make sure that the toothpick isn't sticking through the ear on either side. You could take off clay, put on clay. I like pointy ears for this project. You could do flopping down ears. You could do one ear up, one ear down. You just play with it until you get what you like. So now I'm just taking the toothpick and I'm just smoothing the ear seam into the head and just blending it. And you can also use spritzes of water to help you blend your clay. I usually do the back of the ear first and make sure that that looks good before I sculpt the front. So you can see I'm just adding some more clay. You just add clay as needed and just keep the clay wet as you're working it so that it all blends together. So now I'm adding the other ear, and the most challenging part about this is, of course, getting those ears to be exactly the same size, or approximately the same size. And so you just have to play with this until you're happy with it. On this one, I felt I had way too much clay, and so I just cut it off with some scissors and then just continued sculpting and playing with it until I felt I had pretty even ears. So now I'm just sculpting a nose. You just make kind of a soft triangle, a triangle with rounded edges. I thought this was a little too big for its face, so I did make it smaller. To add blush accents to your rabbit, you can do all kinds of different things. I'm using a pastel chalk and a pipe cleaner because I think it gives a really soft appearance. Now I'm making two little balls to go under the nose for the little mouth part. I don't know what you would call that. They're not exactly cheeks, but you know what I'm talking about. You could add whiskers at this point. I'm not going to add whiskers. You could do that with craft wire, or you could cut off bristles off of a toothbrush, like a hard bristled toothbrush, something like that. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more blush.
Now, I make my own resin eyes. All you have to do for that is go buy a file on Etsy of eyes, and you just put UV resin on them and dry it, and then you'll have an unlimited supply of eyes that you can make, so you're not constantly having to buy them. If you make a lot of creatures, that could be a good idea. But the only downside to that is, of course, you have to cut out your own eyes. They're not conveniently little stickers for you. Now, I do recommend adding your eyes when your rabbit head is still wet, because you can really push it into the eye socket. But I did run out of time when I was sculpting this. I had to leave suddenly and go get my child, and so I didn't have time to add the eyes while the head was wet, but it's okay. You can still add them when they're dry. It's a matter of preference. I do think that the eyes look nicer when they're added to wet clay. Now, I was trying out a couple of different sizes. I did decide on the smaller eyes. It's just my own preference. And I'm just using some Gorilla Glue to add those on, and you do have a couple of seconds of working time so you can get them aligned exactly how you'd like. I make mostly girl bunnies. You could make it into a boy bunny maybe by adding a top hat instead of the ears. Maybe that's something I could show in another tutorial. But I'm just going to add some fake eyelashes. I like very glam looking bunnies with contoured blush cheeks and some fake eyelashes. These are literally fake eyelashes that I use on my own eyes. Not these, of course, not these ones exactly. I have separate ones for my crafts, but you can buy these at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just using tacky glue to attach those. Now I'm just using some more pastel chalk to add accents to the ears and just touch up anything that I think needs touching up. This bunny is finished. You can use it for mini projects or just on its own as tier tray decor. You can also add a bow like I do, or something to place in its hands, like a little cupcake, a little candy, a little lollipop. I actually added a strawberry and a matching red bow for this particular project here. Thank you for watching my tutorial. Let me know what you think in the comments, or if you have any questions, and please subscribe if you'd like some more tutorials like this one.